Okay.
Hi there, this is Debbie Nicholson. I'm the Director of Community Outreach for BeatCancer, and I'm bringing to you one of our wonderful coaches. Her name's Jodie Lin. She has a great website and a wonderful story, and we want to share all her great tips and everything about her so you can learn more about her. So welcome, Jodie. It's so nice to have you with us.
Thank you. It's so nice being here and getting a chance to talk with you and everyone else who's going to be listening. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I was looking at your website and I kind of saw your story about how you kind of were a runner and a vegetarian, but you were saying you were a little more of a pastatarian. So being Italian, I got a little chuckle over that. And then you kind of got breast cancer, and it was a surprise to you because you felt like you were doing some of the right things that we think that we're supposed to be doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your story and maybe where you think the whole disease maybe started?
So I think that the disease actually started way back when I was a child, and I had to go on a lot of different antibiotics for ear infections. I became a vegetarian at the age of 10, purely by choice. Didn't know that that was such a thing. Didn't even know there was a name for it, but I personally just did not like eating animals. As I grew older, I started to hear more and more about vegetarianism and how this was a healthy thing to be doing. Growing up in the 70s, it was becoming more and more popular. And I thought, okay, great. So I'm doing something that's good for my body without even realizing it. I kept eating as a vegetarian, but later on in life became known to my husband as a pastatarian, because what he witnessed was me eating more pastas than vegetables. I did not have enough vegetables in my diet. I ate a lot of iceberg lettuce, if that even counts, but there was not a lot of the darker greens. There was not a lot of color in my diet. There was not a lot of fruit. Banana had always been an issue for me, and apples as well. So I just didn't really know what to eat. My mom is a huge carnivore, and so most of what she was making for us was meat related, and if I wasn't going to eat that, then I kind of had to make my own meals, which turned out to be Lipton noodles. That was the prepackaged Lipton noodles, was what I was basically living off of. So I continued to live that way. Thankfully, I've had 5 perfect pregnancies. I have 5 very healthy children, food allergies aside, which kind of started to open my eyes to being able to be allergic to food, which I didn't know existed. And also when you're not just allergic to it, having an inflammatory reaction to food and gut dysbiosis because of it. My kids were showing me that this actually existed, that it wasn't just in my head, because I had already shown signs and symptoms of gut distress from bananas and from rice and things that you wouldn't think would cause the issues that I was dealing with. Nobody, when I was a teenager, could diagnose me with anything. They didn't understand what was going on with my stomach and thought, of course, that I was making it up as a moody teenager. So I wasn't getting a whole lot of help or support in the nutrition world, and I was going on my merry way as a pastatarian. And then it was just before my 5th pregnancy that I started to have pain in my right breast, and I didn't know what it was. And of course I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, I see nothing here, go home, take Advil, you're fine. So that was a little upsetting to me to be dismissed, because this pain was very real to me. So I went to my OBGYN 2 weeks later, and I said, I have been dealing with this pain for a good 5 weeks now. And she said, well, pain is not normally associated with anything cancer related, anything that we would worry about, but let's go ahead and get a mammogram. A mammogram was done, and it turned out I had microcalcifications. I didn't know anything about microcalcifications at the time. I was a music teacher. I used to be an attorney, but then I became a music teacher while my kids were young, and that's really where my world was, and I wasn't looking into health as much. So this word was basically nothing to me, and they said, well, we'll follow you, we'll monitor you, we're not going to worry too much about it. So then I ended up getting pregnant with my 5th child, and throughout his pregnancy there were definitely telltale signs of something being wrong, and I did go to the OB and had showed them that I was dealing with bloody colostrum, and I was dealing with what felt like lumps in my breast. They weren't sure if it was just pregnancy related, so they sent me off to the breast surgeon, who kind of passed it off until he saw that I had had this abnormal mammogram. And he said, tell you what, come back to me after your pregnancy. There's nothing I want to do right now anyhow. So come back to me after your pregnancy and we'll take another look at it. So thankfully, my pregnancy went pretty much normal. Had a very healthy son. I had 4 girls, and this was my first boy. So was grateful to have him. And then when he was about 5 weeks old, I went back for a follow-up mammogram to see what was going on. And sure enough, that was the first time that somebody said the words to me, "We think you have cancer." I was shocked and completely out of left field as far as I was concerned.
Microcalcifications aren't normally cancerous.
80% benign, 20% malignant.
Okay.
When I did go to my testing, the doctor there says to me, typically we say, 80-20, like I said, benign. He said, I'm giving you 50-50. And because of how widespread yours are, I'm going to say you're going to need a mastectomy. He was the only one that was very upfront and honest about that. And I was dealing with the shock of all of that because, as I said, there's no breast cancer in my history at all. I do have a grandfather that had colon cancer, but they were not linking the two at the time. I was a runner. I was a mom of 5, and everything I had read over the years had suggested that the more children you have, the lower your likelihood of getting breast cancer. I nursed them all. Again, they say the more you nurse, the less chances you have of it. I was very fit, healthy. My weight was spot on. So there was nothing in the literature that would suggest that someone in my situation would get breast cancer, as far as I knew, as far as I've been researching. Since I love to research, I sat down and I said, there's something wrong here. I've got to figure this out. Sure enough, I had DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ. I had to have a lumpectomy. Margins weren't clear, so we went for the mastectomy. Margins still weren't clear, so I ended up doing 7 weeks of radiation. This was everything that I was told to do, and I didn't know anything else. I didn't know that there was any other way to treat this. This is all I knew. But while I was going through the process, I really wanted to get to the root cause of my breast cancer. I wanted to understand how I could get this kind of disease when I'm not supposed to. So I started doing the research, and I started to really learn about the impact of nutrition on your body, and started to really understand that the foods I was eating, which were sugar, I was eating a lot of soy as a vegetarian, and I know that's a very controversial topic, so I don't really go there with that, but that was one of the things I blamed, more sugar than anything, because I did eat a lot of white processed flour and a ton of processed food. So I started to really understand how I was doing this to myself. I was damaging my own body by eating foods that can only exacerbate a possibly existing condition and not help it. And I wasn't doing anything nutrition-wise to help myself. So I started to change my diet and my lifestyle based on what I was learning. And that's when I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and became a health coach. So those were my beginning steps. 8 years later, I was doing fantastic. I put it all behind me. I wasn't worried about it anymore until I started having pain again in this right breast, which is now just a reconstructed breast. It's implants. So I was kind of surprised that
you had an implant.
Happening. I did have reconstructive surgery with implants on both sides. Didn't know to worry about it, but when the pain started, I started worrying about the BIA-ALCL, which is the breast induced type of lymphoma that's caused by breast implants. But mine was a non-textured kind, so my doctor kept saying this would not be causing anything. I said, we need to figure out the source of my pain. During the past year prior to my diagnosis again, I had experienced a lot of trauma in my life, a lot of stress. My sister had been diagnosed with stage 4 rhabdomyosarcoma. It pretty much came out of nowhere, no connection to my prior history with breast cancer. We knew she only had limited time to live. She chose the chemo route as well. She was a doctor, so she fully believed in the science, since that was the route she was going to take. And really all I could do was support her and try to encourage her to eat better, try juicing. There was a lot of things I could suggest, but I wasn't in her shoes, and I know she fully trusted her doctors. So she was being treated for that. At the same time, my brother-in-law's sister had been diagnosed with her 3rd round of breast cancer, and it was metastatic, and she was living chemo to chemo, and she ended up passing away at the end of October. Then at the end of December, my father passed away out of nowhere, unexpectedly. It was actually sad because I'm from Montreal, so I went home to go bury my father and was FaceTiming my sister, who had just been admitted to the hospital because her chemo was no longer working.
Oh.
So here I am, January 2nd, I think we buried him in Montreal, minus 40-degree weather. It was a graveside burial, and I'm FaceTiming my sister who's in the hospital. It was my brother-in-law kept saying, you can't. Unfortunately, you know, she did get a little bit better. She was able to come into Virginia. My daughter was having her bat mitzvah in February. My sister surprised me and came, and it was fantastic, and she looked great. And then after that, everything went downhill. She ended up sadly passing away in June. And in August is when my pain returned. And when I went to go see the doctor, and we were trying to figure out what was causing my pain, and through faulty testing, I had an MRI. They did not do it with contrast like they were supposed to. They did one without contrast and decided that my implants had ruptured. So I went back to the plastic surgeon, and he was surprised. He said, but we're going to go in and we're going to remove the implants. And I said to him, I don't want these back. If there's any sign that they're causing cancer or any kind of infection or mold or anything, put them back in. He said, I don't think that's going to be the problem, but okay. I go in for what's expected to be a 3-hour surgery. I'm out after an hour and a half. He had removed like a chunk this big that he sent off to pathology that came back positive for invasive ductal carcinoma. So my question then became, is this a reoccurrence? Is this new cancer? You know, I've changed my lifestyle. I lived past that 5-year point where they say you're in remission. How did this happen again? And then the doctors won't really admit it. My surgeon looked at me and said, I really believe this is a reoccurrence. And I think that you're an anomaly. And I think the reason why it took so long to come back is because you changed your lifestyle, because of the way you eat and exercise. The piece I was missing was managing my stress. And that was the thing that undid me. It caused the inflammation in my body, weakened my immune system, and allowed these naughty cells to grow again. So now I am dealing with stage 1 is what they've staged it at. They haven't done the surgery yet. Invasive ductal carcinoma. And that's where I am. So now I came to BeatCancer.Org to further understand my own situation and how, again, I can help others learn from what I went through and help prevent them from having breast cancer. I didn't like always hearing my mother beat cancer twice. My aunts beat it 3 times. It's like, one time should be enough, and maybe we should never be getting cancer. So I really decided, like with my health coach training, I needed to take the next step and get more into the cancer training so I can help people not have to go through this. And that's where I got to BeatCancer.Org and did my certification as a holistic cancer coach. And hoping moving forward, you know, I'd like to help people in all different stages of their lives, whether they just want to lose weight, whether they want to get to the root cause of whatever symptoms they have, whether they are worried about getting cancer because there is a history of it, even though 85% of breast cancers are non-hereditary. Help them through their cancers. If they're trying to debate, should they go holistically? Should they go with treatment? Maybe combine both, an integrative approach, which is what I'm doing. And then help them post-cancer, how to get their bodies back into a healthy homeostasis. So that's my goal as a holistic cancer coach now, so just really help them through that process and help them find their way as healthy as they can, and to hopefully, you know, move forward with a very healthy lifestyle so that this doesn't come back or happen to them.
Well, you said a mouthful, and you said that perfectly. I can't even add anything to that. That was so good. Yeah, I mean, everybody has a different root cause, and it's so nice. I think survivors make wonderful coaches because they really understand exactly what it takes to get to heal on that journey, what it's like, and I think others can connect so well with that human experience, and I just think it's a lovely thing. And I like that you really understand the inflammatory process, and I think it always starts with some type of inflammation. Mm-hmm. And it's nice that you're really getting to that root cause. And the stress piece also is the other thing that's really so big. I think, you know, I've done some really big podcasts with breast implant illness awareness, and so many people, I mean, it's, before it was the textured, now they're saying other things. So, and I think everybody's immune system's different. Look, some people can handle a lot more, and maybe they don't have stress in their life, but you just never know what's going to cause that tipping point.
Right.
Because it is a drain on the immune system. And a lot of things are. You know, a root canal can be a drain on the immune system. A lot of dental things, you know, mercury fillings, or there could be some kind of mold, or all kinds of things that kind of drain the immune system. But I guess there's all different legs to that stool. So it sounds like you're hitting them all. And then I think if all, and it's a whole new lifestyle, but if you're kind of hitting them all and then you do get hit with something, your body's already kind of in a place where it can maybe handle some stress or something that comes along the pike. But we were chatting before we started recording, and I was saying that I really think that knowing how to come up with a new way of managing stress in a practical daily way where we nurture ourselves in that manner is really, it's really challenging, and it feels good in the end, but allowing ourselves to slow down and get there is something that's just not familiar in our culture.
Not in today's world, no. So I've been trying yoga. I've opened my mind to that. It's very hard for me to quiet my mind. I am a mom of 5, so I got a lot going on.
A lot going on.
Really am trying with the yoga to quiet my mind and just tune into myself. So that's one piece of it. I've always been a journaler, so I still keep that piece with me. I have all of like my pregnancies, and anything that's big in my life has been journaled to help me cope with any of that.
Oh, that's great.
So that's something, gratification, we're starting to work on as a family, just kind of saying what we're grateful for every day. That's new to us, but you know, all these things should help us manage our stress better. And I'm always looking for new ways to do that, since obviously I'm a victim of my own stress and I don't want to be one of those anymore. So, and then I teach other people strategies that, you know, everybody has to find their coping mechanism, their stress management mechanism that will work for them. So if yoga isn't what's going to work for them, then we can try the gratification, or we can try journaling, or we can try just breathing techniques, which I do with my child. Like, she has anxiety, so we work on breathing to help with that. So it's just really finding what works for you. And that's why we look at everybody individually, because what works for one is not going to work for everybody. And that's what we have to keep in mind as we move forward and find the right thing for each one of us.
Yeah, I think you just have to be open-minded and just try all different things and see what resonates in the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really liked your website. It was really, really nice.
Thank you.
You have a t-shirt on. Show us your t-shirt. JKL Well Health Coaching.
So JKL Well stands for Just Clean Living, and Just Clean Living Well. So that's our goal, is to help people through nutrition, food, like helping them eat whole foods and doing it in the healthiest way possible. I really don't focus on one particular diet versus another. I don't use that word with my clients. We just look at how to eat the foods that they like to eat in the healthiest way that they can eat them for their body. That also usually entails doing the food inflammation testing to make sure that the foods they're eating aren't causing inflammatory responses in their body. Sometimes they come to me with symptoms already, sometimes they don't, and I kind of still like to do the testing on them for them to see that this food could be causing inflammation. Good to know it from the beginning, so we don't continue down that route to the point where you do get the symptoms and to where it can get to be too late. So that's been a very effective tool in my healing journey, and for many of those in my family and people that I've been seeing as clients. We've really found what's been causing some issues for them and their symptoms. And the symptoms are always different. You know, they're not just going to be gas or bloating. There's eczema, there's psoriasis, there's joint inflammation, arthritis, losing your hair. There's so many different types of ways that your body's going to reveal its inflammation. And again, everybody's different, so it's going to show up differently in everybody. But getting to that root cause, which a lot of the times is said to be a food that you're eating that's causing the damage in the body, is really important. And by pulling those foods out, we can really help stop that process and then begin the healing process.
Absolutely. Because you won't know. It could be days later when symptoms come, so you would never really know.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you.
A lot of times you don't even associate those symptoms with it. Like alopecia, a lot of people don't realize that can be caused by food causing inflammation in the body. Acne in teenagers, we always talk to them about junk food, but it might not just be that junk food with the toxins trying to get out. It could be another everyday supposedly healthy food that just does not agree with their guts. So these are things that we need to find out in order to help diagnose the symptoms and move forward healthy. I really like to work with younger children to put them on those paths so that they maintain a nice homeostasis in their microbiome.
Right, from early on.
Right.
Really good habits, right. Prevention is the key.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it starts with the parents, so yeah,
yes.
It's nice when it's a whole family thing.
And it's not always easy, I'll tell you. Of those 5 kids of mine, 3 of them are teenagers, and they're a little rebellious now. They hear me. They've told me they hear me, but it doesn't mean that they're putting into practice what I'm telling them. But I just keep drilling it in so that one day when they're ready to listen, they'll have the tools necessary to make the changes they need to stay healthy. Having a mom with breast cancer, unfortunately, puts them at risk, and I have to really prepare them for that possibility that, this could happen to them. Let's try to keep you as healthy as possible so it doesn't. And if they say, oh, I never got it, you were wrong, I'll be happy to hear that, because that means I did something right, because they did not get the breast cancer.
Yeah, I think they say genes could load the gun, but lifestyle choices pull the trigger. So, and like you said, it's only 85% to begin with. So we have a lot of control. We do with our choice. We absolutely do.
Absolutely. So finding that right nutrition lifestyle for you, finding the right exercise path for you, because not all exercise is right for everybody either. I'm a runner, but running doesn't really agree with my body, and I have to learn to change that. I become very inflamed from running when I run the long distances. So I had to rein that in quite a bit as well. And then also finding that key stress management tool. The 3 things come together to really help provide with a healthy lifestyle.
Well, you really know where it is, Jodie.
I try. I keep learning.
Spot on. Well, Jodie, you sound amazing. And if anybody's looking for a wonderful coach, Jodie is at your service.
Thank you.
We're going to post this website, this podcast on our website, and we'll have a blog article with that so you can find Jodie's website and everything. So thank you so much for being with us. Yes, there she is.
Coaching.com is the website. But you can also find me through BeatCancer.Org, so that's a great way to access me as well. Absolutely, and it's great to have a coach for accountability and to guide you on your healing journey. It's a wonderful thing, and I really advise anybody that's trying to heal to have a coach. So thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was wonderful speaking with you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.